Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our 9-month around the world adventure. And today we are going to see one of the most visually stunning cities that we have yet to encounter, as well as ruins older and more spectacular than Stonehenge.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we're living that full life aboard Royal Caribbean's 9-month around the world cruise on Serenade of the Seas.
Well, friends, we are in Valletta, Malta here, and it is a beautiful island in the Mediterranean. Now, we're south of Italy, and we are north of Libya at this point. But our sail-in was absolutely gorgeous. We're sitting out in the back on in the windjammer having breakfast, and we start seeing this incredible walled city come in.
Yeah, it's a real mix of architecture of Middle Eastern, Arabic architecture and European architecture, and the city itself is just amazing. I mean, we're all out there, just having a little breakfast. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this. And we're running back and forth from port to starboard, taking pictures as we come in. And yeah, it was really pretty amazing. And again, this is so different than many of the places that, especially recently, we've seen as we've been going up the coast of Italy and down the Dalmatian coast. But yeah, Malta has... It's promising a lot with what we're seeing here so far. Well, today we're going to give a Royal Caribbean tour a try. We're actually not going to stay on the main island of Malta. We're going to go out to since Malta is composed of 3 different islands, we're going to go over to the island of Gozo because there's several sites over there that we want to see. And so we're going to head on over there on that tour.
Right, and we are also with my brother and sister-in-law and niece today who have joined us on the cruise for this mini segment up until Rome. So we're going to enjoy this tour with them as well.
Yeah. Well, we get on a bus and we have to take the bus out to a ferry. As we mentioned, we're going over to the other island of Gozo. And the bus just drives right up to the ferry. We get off. The bus does not go on the ferry. And we have a beautiful sail away and a little sailing over to it. One of the things that we could see was the Blue Lagoon. And that is on the island of Camino. That's another one of the Malta islands. And that is a very, very popular destination for people that come to Malta. And in fact,
You want to go there?
Yeah, I was a little, I have a little FOMO, a little fear of missing out because it did look gorgeous and it was a wonderful day. And you can go over there and ride jet skis. You can go swimming. You can actually go scuba diving. You can go snorkeling in the islands and everything there. Well, as we got to the end of our ferry ride, we got off. There was another bus waiting for us there on the island of Gozo, and we started heading out on our adventure.
Our first stop was at the Ggantija temple. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, our Maltese is not.
But this is the second oldest religious temple in the world. It dates back to somewhere between 2500 BC and 3600 BC. So it's actually older than Stonehenge. It is older than the pyramids of Egypt.
And 5,500 years old.
Right, right. And the only older religious temple is in Turkey. But so this was incredible to be seeing something that was this old.
Yeah, it was real nice. They have a great museum. They have lots of artifacts they've collected from here. Our guide did a good job walking us through those different artifacts, talking about what the temple is used for. The general belief is it was used for fertility rites. It was is kind of the general notion that what the usage of the temple was. So we went through the museum, got a nice talk, looked at the artifacts, and then we actually walked to the outside and went into the temple itself. So we walked around, walked up through the middle, got views of the different rooms of the temple and what they would have been used for. Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think of Stonehenge, where you have to kind of stay outside the velvet curtain, the velvet rope, and just look at it from a distance. And here we walked right into the middle of it, and that was pretty amazing.
On a specific path.
Yes. Yeah, they have walkways and structures built that you can go up in there. So no, I enjoyed that a lot.
Did too.
It's now here is where you're going to hear our first probably criticism of this type of tour. Once again, This is one of those tours that's going to show us a whole lot of a little bit. You know, it's a whole lot
A
of things.
whole little of a lot.
A whole little, yeah, a little of a whole lot. How about that? Yeah. So we're getting a lot of flybys here, and this temple area and the museum and everything that's in here. I mean, you could spend a good half day at least going through this, but we only had half an hour or so, 45 minutes to see the whole thing. And again, we're just having to accept that today is an overview day, but unfortunately, some of the sites, and you're going to hear us say this a little bit later too, that we really wanted to see are almost just a drive-by picture opportunity. This is the disadvantage of going on a bus tour like this. They're taking you to the places you want to see, but not necessarily letting you see those places in depth. But that lets you know maybe you want to come back and see some things in the
Exactly.
future.
After that, then we went to the old walled city, made it to the Citadel of Gozo, and did some walking. Now we made it to the Cathedral of St. Francis. They're getting ready for the feast of St. Peter and St. Paul. So they've got a lot of wooden structures that are temporary, but they're made to look like marble because they're getting ready for this big feast.
Yeah, the
But
whole city
this is
was decorated.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it was quite amazing. Everyone was swearing that was these big marble pillars and everything, and our guy
It's not.
went and knocked on one. It's like, no, this is wood, and it's just temporary. So yeah, it was really kind of interesting to see that. Well, from there we hiked up and up the hill, and we made it up into the walled city, the actual citadel itself, and went into the citadel. Here we saw several different churches. We saw the Church of St. George, the Church of St. Michael, the Church of Our Lady. Here's something I thought was very fascinating. As we're walking through the city, all the different people's homes that are there have different little plaques, signs, maybe a ceramic tile that has a picture of St. George or a picture of St. Michael or a picture of the Virgin Mary. And what that indicates is which parish or which church that house supports.
Right.
And it's not like in the United States or other places where you have a parish that just, it's a physical area
Boundary.
and a boundary, and the next and the next. Here you might have one house that is supporting, as he said, the Church of St. George, and then the Church of St. Michael, and the church,
Is in the
of our
next
Assumption.
house, yes.
And but you show your church by the plaque or the picture that's hanging out front. And so we saw lots and lots of those. So I thought that was really interesting. Here we walked through the city, saw several of these different churches, and once again, one of the churches, I believe it was Church of the Assumption, huge church right in the middle of town, and we wanted to go into it, but there was no time because nope, we're just giving the overview.
Well, after our rushed visit to the Citadel, we got back on our bus and he took us to the Blue Grotto. Now, this was kind of a fun little stop because we actually took a boat ride through the caves from one side to the other. Best €5 we've ever spent
Oh,
on
it is.
this trip.
True. We said it over and over. Best €5 spent on the world cruise, and this was now. So we've
was
mentioned a
very
couple
cool.
times how rushed things were. And this was a case where we actually experienced something that was great. And so I love this. We can't recommend enough that if you're on the island of Gozo in Malta, that you do not miss doing the little €5 Blue Grotto boat ride.
About 20 minutes long.
Yeah, and you can see the
nice.
pictures here. You go through these caves, and it's just the sides of the cliffs, and
We said we were on the Pirates of the Caribbean.
we did. Yeah, in fact, we were kind of joking and saying, "Yo ho ho, pirates like for me." So no, we enjoyed that a lot. I think that was
It was sweet.
such
It was very sweet.
a simple little thing as a boat ride, but it really was a highlight of this trip. So yeah, as you can see, the pictures were just quite amazing. Well, after that, this is something you'll find again on a lot of Royal Caribbean tours. You always stop for lunch. And in this case, they took us to a convent, kind of down in the basement. We had a Maltese lunch. It was a good lunch. They had
okay.
wine included. But there again, we spent between an hour and a half at lunch. Yet the sights and tour things, we didn't really have any time to spend. So when we tour, this is just how we like to tour. Everybody's different. We will grab a sandwich and keep touring, and because we're in a place for a limited amount of time. Now, there are other people who are like, nope, I've got to have my sit down lunch and I want to, and have that.
And
That's how they
okay.
like to
Yep.
tour. So this was a little difficult for us, where we're like, okay, let's wrap lunch up, let's go. And but the lunch was good. It was fine, and honestly, it was such a hot day. It was kind of nice to relax just a little bit.
After lunch, we got back on the bus, and our next stop was at the Our Lady of Pinu Shrine.
Yeah, this was one of the main reasons that I booked this particular tour, was to see the shrine of Our Lady of Pinu. In fact, the picture of the tour in the brochure or online was a picture of the shrine. It is an amazing, gorgeous structure, quite stunning when you're on the outside of it. And it's a famous shrine. Many miracles have been attributed to this site. In fact, two popes have celebrated Mass here, Pope John
Yes.
Paul II and Pope Francis.
Yes.
So an incredibly famous area. And here again, this was a point of a little bit of frustration, because the bus pulls up. Our tour guide says, okay, we have 2 minutes. You can take pictures out the window, or if you get off the bus, you got to get right back on. And I literally looked at her and said, no, I'm going inside the shrine, and because there was no indication we were not actually going to stop at the shrine and get to go in. And so several of us actually kind of took a cue, and we went inside, got a few pictures. I mean, we went
Very
quickly.
rushed.
It was very rushed. I did get some pictures you can see here, but that was probably the biggest disappointment, that we went all the way to the island of Gozo. We're finally at this shrine, and then it's like you literally have, less than 5 minutes to go and see it. No time to really reflect or spend time in there. Again, it's a part of being on a big tour versus doing it on your own, and we're learning that more and more as we go. But we got some pictures and got on. Again, the bus driver and the tour guide were trying to get us to a particular ferry time, so that we didn't have to wait the half hour to the next ferry. But we wrapped up there with our pictures, got back on, and we did make it to the ferry in plenty of time, actually.
Yes. Well, we arrived back on the mainland, and we still had a little bit of time before all aboard. So we really wanted to explore Malta, and the way to get there is to get to the old city from the cruise port is to take an elevator ride.
Yeah, so it's about a 15-minute walk maybe from where our cruise ship docked. And actually, there were 3 or 4 cruise ships in port at this time. But you can walk right from the cruise terminal to the big elevator, they call it.
It costs what, €1
It's
to
a
go up?
euro, and it's this big tall elevator, because Malta, and you can even see this from the sail-in, it's, the city itself is raised way above the bay and the ocean. And so you take this big elevator up, and then you're actually right there in the old city. So we took the elevator up and started walking around. Now, one thing that you were a little concerned about is there was quite a line at the elevator, and I think you got a little bit nervous about, well, how long is it going to take to...
I'm thinking we're going to have to wait an hour in line to get back down this elevator to get back to the cruise ship, so I was really watching my time closely. Now, that said, there are other ways. You could walk down the stairs if you didn't want to take the elevator. You could also get a taxi to get you back down as well. So there, you do have a few other options.
Right. The big elevators, if the line is not too long, is the fastest way down. But I think the walk is about 35 minutes to walk back down out of the city. So it's very doable as well. We did walk around the old city. It's again, we got a glimpse of the city. Kind of that's our theme for a glimpse of Malta. And it was quite fascinating. It just kind of whetted our appetite to potentially come back and see this some more. Well, we went back to the big elevator. Fortunately, there really wasn't much of a line. I think we waited one cycle
or at that point.
Right. And so we took the elevator back down, walked back to the cruise ship, got back in plenty of time, and we were ready for our sail out of Malta. So, well, Nancy, Malta, Gozo, Camino, all these islands, this whole area here, what's your thoughts?
I thought it's beautiful. It's truly beautiful. And so I would love to have the opportunity to come back here again.
Yeah, the nice thing, I think a lot of Mediterranean cruises in this area do come back. It's a
Yes.
bit of a difficult place to get to out in the middle of the Mediterranean here, but yeah,
So
I
if you're on a
certainly.
cruise ship, it's a good way.
Oh yeah, I would certainly love to come back to. I feel like there's so much here that we did not get to really experience.
Right,
So.
and I would probably plan if we get back here to do things kind of on our own.
Oh,
next time.
absolutely. Yeah, no question. And we're learning that more and more, and as we're going around the world, you've seen so many of the adventures we're going, and I think what you're going to see here as we're getting more and more, especially as we get to Europe and these areas that we're very familiar with, we have no tours planned. You're going to see us planning
Uh-huh.
our own and doing on our own versus having somebody else guide us, because at this point, I think we're going to enjoy that a lot more. So you're going to see a lot more Mike and Nancy plan.
That's right.
So, well, thanks a lot for tuning in. We had a great time here, and we sure appreciate everyone that's following along on our adventure.
Right, and where are we going tomorrow, Mike?
We are heading to Sicily. So,
We've got a food tour planned there, so that's going to be a lot of fun again with my brother and sister-in-law and niece, and so we're going to enjoy that.
the food of Sicily. How could it not be great?
That's right. Well, friends, so in order to see it, be sure you turn on those notifications. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and we will see you very soon. Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye
Take
now.
care. Bye-bye.